we saw in the previous game where there wasn't a lot of engage on one side here. But with Rakan now locked in, they've got that. They're taking the Renekton into the top side. He will be up against Jayce, and it is Sett support. Bowling ball Sett here with the Kalista.
Very interesting. This 100 Thieves comp, is a lot of early game, mid game power. But again, it feels like they're putting themselves a little bit in the Immortals' shoes, where it's a difficult comp to actually play out. I will say they have more win conditions because you can split push with the Jayce. You can look for poke obviously with Ezreal, with the Jayce and the Nidalee. So they have some ability to actually play out in multiple ways there. Nidalee, I just double checked, actually is winless in the LCS. It is 0-5, so no one has actually won yet on the champion. And FlyQuest over on the other side, this just feels much more like, death ball style League of Legends. Group up, throw in this Rakan to ult and CC people up with the Olaf with, the Renekton flying in after, and Orianna Shockwave, Ezreal ultimate to actually follow that up. So really good engage on that side, really good team fighting. And I do think that 100 Thieves have the ability to win this game, but it does feel, again, very dependent upon early game execution.
And I'm going to levy the same complaint against their composition that I levied against Immortals last time. If you're one of the top teams in this, like if these drafts were reversed, if it was FlyQuest as a team that, like you said, a lot of people are looking at them as number 2, number 3, like in that upper echelon of teams in the LCS, I would be more okay with them taking a Nidalee Jayce type of composition than I am with 100 Thieves doing it. This is the pro play equivalent of LS telling players that want to climb to pick Annie. Because you need to play something with simple, straightforward execution. And this isn't flame, this is facts. If you're low
Maybe
in
it's
the standings,
some flame,
It's not, well, it's only flame because Annie uses fire. That's
educational.
It's lower flame. It's the end of the day, what I'm saying, Isaac, is that if you're at 2 and 6, you're there because there are execution errors, and that execution needs to be made straightforward. And Nidalee is not going to result in a straightforward late-game fight type of composition that is then going to give you the best chance to win. Maybe they can prove me wrong. I said last game, I welcome being proved wrong. I'm not going to repeat all the stuff that I said then. But if they can prove me wrong, I welcome it. We will see.
And I will say, to play devil's advocate a bit, I largely do agree with your points, but just to devil's advocate it, if you're saying, hey, we're the worst team, FlyQuest is really consistent, FlyQuest is really good at late game team fights, we will lose if we get there, let's all in on early game, right? And I can respect that if that is the idea here. Go Kalista, go Sett. Nidalee, is a really fast, good counter jungler early on in the game. Jayce should be winning up on that top side in the 1v1. Try to just slam lanes, even Syndra against the Orianna, and maybe that's the idea. So we'll see if they're going to be able to execute it. And also, the other caveat is the difference between this, also in the Immortals comp, is that they can actually split push, right? So there's more than just team fighting to win this game because you do have the Jayce. So interested to see how they can pull this off. And mid lane gank here from Contractz.
Contractz shows up with the Nidalee, gets some red buff auto attacks into the damage going through, and first blood over to 100 Thieves, making it happen.
Really well done. He's got to get out of there though. Santorin does know he's around here.
TP also coming in from PowerOfEvil, hasting back into the fight, but FlyQuest with some really poor choices early on in this game. They give away a second one. Ryoma lets them know that this is fine, as well as a distressed crab. And man, 100 Thieves could not have asked for a better start.
Yeah, that is rough. This is just a nice early gank after taking away the enemy red buff. But PowerOfEvil, you need to flash the spear. Once you actually get hit by that spear, you get the additional pounce range. Sure, he flashes the pounce itself, but then the flash follow, very easily done there. And Santorin, yeah, if you can actually catch up to Contractz, you have the TP coming in, that's great. But look at where the TP is, and look at where Santorin is. There's no way for PowerOfEvil to get over there. And by the way, PowerOfEvil was TPing in as a level 1 Orianna. So you were just going way too fast. That just felt like they were really hungry to get a kill back after that early mistake. And, flashing in half HP on that Olaf just isn't it when there's 2 members there from 100 Thieves.
Really big early error there from FlyQuest to give away a second kill and spend your mid laner's teleport to do it. We'll see what 100 Thieves can build for themselves off of that unforced error from FlyQuest. We talk a lot about sort of what caused teams to lose in these games. Was it a mistake you made, or was it just the fact that your opponents played better? And oftentimes we do see these unforced errors from teams that honestly they really didn't have any business making.
Yeah, the second one I would categorize as, you know, an unforced error. The first one feels like, you know, they put pressure on, you probably wasn't expecting level 2 Nidalee gank, you know, this sort of stuff. So that feels more like, you know, you forced out a mistake due to your early planning, due to the level 1 invade. You know, they had the Sett was starting with Sweeper to actually sweep out the ward, so you couldn't tell if Nidalee actually was leaving from that red buff area or going to gank after taking it. So there was some preparation there from 100 Thieves, which I actually really do like. I think when you're going to go for these early game style picks and you're going to have a more powerful level 1, you want to commit to that. You want to be looking for edges where you can get them, and this is back-to-back games where we've seen, you know, level 1 invades actually work out very well for this team that has kind of more of a commitment towards the early game. So credit to 100 Thieves, and we'll see if they can kind of keep this rolling, because Contractz, the 2 early kills, you know, when you get to that Runic Echoes early on as Nidalee, your burst is really, really nice.
Incredible. And I actually think those 2 kills that 100 Thieves got are probably a really good way to contrast the good play from one side versus the poor decision-making of the other side, right? That first one, exactly what you were talking about, 100 Thieves planning it out, making sure they could get that first blood. But then the teleport in afterwards, just not the same thing, as they're going for the dive here in the top side. And ladies and gentlemen, 100 Thieves continuing to get things done up here in the top side now. That is their 3rd kill of the game. That is kill credit over to Ssumday. This Jayce is in charge of the top lane.
This is like a my mid laner, your mid laner style game. Ryoma, nice TP there up towards that top lane. That was just really well done. We saw, you know, PowerOfEvil not able to get anything with his on that return, trying to get that kill back on Contractz, and Ryoma, you know, just nicely set up dive there with Ssumday, who had solo poked low, who had him with no health potion, and just TPing on the minion to kind of guarantee that was very, very smart. So 100 Thieves already out to a great start here, and if Jayce gets too far ahead of the Renekton, it can get pretty brutal for that Renekton, because your all-in potential when you are playing against that phase rush Jayce is greatly reduced, unless you're, you know, really, really strong.
FlyQuest now have to find a way to stop this bleeding and get themselves back into the game. Contractz not bothering to clear out that ward he's getting on top of. It's already disabled. Ryoma stepping forward, looking for the burst. Spear coming in, but PowerOfEvil stepping out of the way, will stay alive. Santorin still hovering around this mid lane. Contractz getting a little bit of damage down onto him, using the red smite there to make sure the auto attacks can find some extra. And now, with the enemy jungler pushed back, with the enemy mid laner not doing so hot, 100 Thieves recognizes they have control over the bottom river.
Yep, nicely done. You know, they weren't fully coordinated. I'm not sure if Contractz was actually in range when he did land that stun, but the idea was there. You land the Scatter of the Weak, the Spear is then kind of supposed to be guaranteed, but PowerOfEvil might just get a solo kill here.
This could be what the doctor ordered for FlyQuest. PowerOfEvil needed a couple more seconds on the flash. It was not quite available just yet. Now he has it. Also having the Ignite ready to go, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. PowerOfEvil gets the solo kill.
Greed is a deadly sin, Ryoma. Why are you staying in lane? You see that he has Ignite. You should know that Flash is up here shortly. He just tried to stay in lane straight up with like 10% health. That was really, really foolish, and Ryoma, you know, giving PowerOfEvil way back into the game as he now has that solo kill. They're looking for IgNar on this bottom side.
IgNar dashing away with the grand entrance as a grand exit. Gets to safety, loses half his HP, and yeah, the mistake from Ryoma there in the mid lane, providing PowerOfEvil the chance to catch back up. The CS between these mid laners now even. Ryoma's got the 3 assists, but the 1 kill on PowerOfEvil is going to catch that gold up very nicely between the two. Contractz and Poome seizing the opportunity to go after this first Drake here, and they'll secure that one with no contest coming out from FlyQuest. With the second Drake, you can see the symbol on the wall there indicating it'll be Mountain. That means we get either Infernal Soul or Ocean Soul again this game.
Yep, and that's just one of those plays that you just don't want to see happen. Solo, though, maybe he can chase down, and he will be able to get out. It's just greed, right? It's plain and simple. That's something that, honestly, I get caught doing a lot in solo queue. You stay around for the extra wave. You're like, well,
just one more wave, man.
I can probably push it out, or I almost have my buy. You know, I'm sure I'm fine here at 20%. You know you're not. You need to accept it. You need to give up the minions in base, and Ryoma makes the classic error.
I always do that too. You go into the enemy jungle trying to steal a camp. The solo tries to go for the solo kill, but now it's going to be Contractz and IgNar both moving themselves up into this fight. Shockwave not going to be accelerated to find its way onto IgNar as Santorin pushes forward, but Poome has now joined the fight. No level 6 here on the Sett. Does try to use the face breaker, but won't grab the stun. Spear won't find a target either. Solo dashing back over the wall. Ryoma grabbing some CC onto the enemy jungler, but Santorin popping the ulti to get himself away. Shock Blast going to find a little bit of damage. There's so many health bars taking so much damage, but none of it has managed to focus one person down hard enough to mean a kill for either side.
This is pretty insane. Nice skirmishing here. 100 Thieves really committing to this early aggression. You know, Poome was there to actually match the roam from IgNar, and Contractz.
Oh, we're not done yet, ladies and gentlemen, and Contractz will be pop. Power of Evil showing the power of Orianna as Poome is taking a lot of damage here in the 2v2, following things up. Popping the Haymaker to get the shield, down to 1 auto attack range for death, but he will walk away.
Power of Evil gets another kill, and that one is the shutdown. So despite the early gank going the way of 100 Thieves, killing off Power of Evil, and Power of Evil honestly making the mistake, you know, not flashing that spear, he is right back in it. It's just a great flash stun there from Solo. Yes, Contractz is ahead, but he's still incredibly squishy, and the flash stun there from the Renekton into the Shockwave was very, very well done. This was kind of a back and forth fight, and it did feel like 100 Thieves had the best of it. But Ssumday is going back to top lane. Ryoma is actually going back to mid lane here. You know, they're not really fully together anymore, and that's when you have to back off. And FlyQuest just come on in and take advantage of that. Flash W, Shockwave comboed off that, no way to actually dodge out, and Poome was very lucky that he even escaped with his life.
I criticized Power of Evil at level 1, and I've got to give him props for everything since then. Getting back into the game, keeping a level head, making sure he's still going to be relevant, and popping off now on this Summoner Spellbook Orianna. You can see him now equipping the Ghost, ready to go to get into the team fights with a different mobility spell, with the flash still on cooldown there. As the next Drake will be spawning in 2 minutes, with the Herald also gone. Nothing really to fight over now for these two squads. Plenty of time left for Santorin to summon that up whenever he wants to. He'll pretty much have the full remaining duration of turret plates to drop that Shelly. The last game, we saw Immortals get absolutely no value out of the first Rift Herald. They dropped it and it was killed before it was able to get the charge off. So hopefully for the side of FlyQuest, they will find more success than what Immortals did in our previous matchup, as 100 Thieves are looking for a potential opportunity onto Power of Evil, but he senses something's wrong. See, he's not falling for the greedy trap. He's not walking up thinking, maybe I could get a plate or something. You know, there's a little bit of extra gold up there. Now, Power of Evil, he knows better.
Yep, bot lane missing, jungle, MIA, time to get out of there. And Ssumday, he's like a really strong up on this top side. Almost has his Black Cleaver, double Dorans. He just took a plate there, so may actually have Black Cleaver gold at this point, very far ahead of Solo. And Ssumday is going to be one of those win conditions. We'll see if Contractz can continue to actually try to push him ahead. It does feel like their strongest member right now, and they should be able to actually win those 2v2s up on the top side if they can execute correctly.
Ssumday could be so scary if he keeps this pace up moving forward. I like the Black Cleaver choice just to make sure he has the bigger health pool, so when Solo tries to go for the all-in, he just doesn't automatically get the best of him there. And you can see that trade looked scary at the start, but Ssumday sticking around after Solo had already used his entire combo, making sure things even out.
Yeah, and that's really kind of the terrifying thing about these Jayce players, you know, who do play phase rush, is you can go in as a melee champion and you win the upfront trade, especially with Renekton. You know, you have that stun. He's not fighting back. But then as you try to actually retreat out, he procs phase rush, and he can sometimes just chase you down and put so much damage onto you that, you know, you either lose the trade very heavily or even just straight up lose your life. And here FlyQuest moving over to that middle lane, just going to drop the Herald here to try to give some gold to Power of Evil. Santorin got out of there immediately, and they're also using this to try to actually contest this dragon, because 100 Thieves did get the first one. They want to continue snowballing these dragons, utilizing their early power. They have Kalista, so they have that objective secure, and FlyQuest is trying to contest this.
Good job by Contractz and Poome moving up into the river as that Rift Herald was summoned to make sure that FlyQuest didn't get the control they wanted by using it. And now 100 Thieves are setting up wards, they're setting up traps, they're trying to control this entire area and make sure they can keep that stacking going. They still have a 1,500 gold lead here 13 minutes in. They still should have the edge in this fight. Teleport's available for both top laners, and they are both heading back up into that top side. Sometimes you'll see somebody try to path down here earlier. Cody's son gonna face check IgNar, who uses the ulti into the knockup. They're finding so much damage, but Cody's son fail flashing, and that should be surely a kill here. FlyQuest get the kill onto Cody. A misplay from him spells disaster for 100 Thieves, and Santorin goes over to pick up his Drake.
Man, I've got to give a lot of credit to IgNar. I really am starting to feel like the IgNar signature play, is this Rakan? Contractz, don't go for that. Is this sort of play where Ryoma now, he's actually probably just dead. He's TP'd on. See you
Ryoma
later.
In the middle of everybody here as he should be taken down. PowerOfEvil also nearly popped there. Ssumday trying to come in, find some sort of a revenge kill here. But 100 Thieves are in a 3 versus 4, and they won't take it any further.
Ah, the classic Syndra flank. worked out about as well as expected. Was a nice attempt, but not gonna result in a kill there for them. But they did actually get a lot of chunk down. They will result in them taking the dragon here. Solo, though, it has to be noted, didn't actually match TPs. So, they will lose the dragon, but they will get plates up on that top side, and he can start to close the gap a little bit between himself and the Jayce. But to talk about IgNar a little bit, as I was trying to before we got interrupted by that play, IgNar has been, I want to say, one of the best players I have ever seen at actually finding these unique angles. Whenever he's playing the Rakan, he's constantly sneaking around. This wasn't the craziest of angles, but you'll notice when they fight at neutral objectives, he's often actually like wrapped around the Baron Pit or wrapped behind the Dragon Pit, and he comes on these solo flanks where he can find these really, really good picks and really, really good engages, and this was just another example of that. I think IgNar has been playing very well for FlyQuest this season, and smart little play from him, gets behind Cody's son and costs Cody's son his summoner and his life.
Honestly, I feel like this 100 Thieves gold lead was at its best 6 or 7 minutes into the game, and for the past 10 minutes, it's just been slowly shrinking closer and closer back towards that neutral state. Only 1,000 separating the squads now. Ssumday trying to build that back up, take down this tier 1 turret here in the top lane. 100 Thieves currently commanding a 1-0 turret count in the first place. Wanting to get a little bit of extra money in the pockets there. Black Cleaver fully completed for Ssumday. You can see Solo's inventory, despite the fact that their CS is pretty much even. He's 2 kills behind. He also had to make sure he rushed the ninja tabbies to resist some of that auto attack damage he was consistently going to be taking. So his Black Cleaver still a way away as Contractz hovers this top side. The ward will spot him out as Santorin clears away some of this 100 Thieves vision in the FlyQuest jump.
Yep, and although I don't think that 100 Thieves are in as good of a position as they were actually earlier on, they did get those 2 dragons, and Soul is still in position, right? If you can actually grab that Ocean Soul, it becomes so frustrating to deal with. FlyQuest does have the ability to potentially just burst you through it, 100 to 0 you, and then Soul isn't going to be really doing much, but Nidalee plus Jayce poking you constantly with that Ocean Soul is going to be very, very frustrating. So, that is something that FlyQuest is going to want to try to put a stop to. They did look to try to fight at the second dragon, so they're very clearly aware of the potential of that being a problem later on, and I do expect them to try to prep for this third dragon here coming up in 3 minutes and look to put a stop to 100 Thieves stacking.
Santorin trying to grab this second herald of the game for the side of FlyQuest. Remember, the first one was used mid lane. They got 2 plates out of it. They tried to use it as a distraction for Drake. 100 Thieves responded appropriately, and it didn't result in, honestly, anything more than those 2 plates. We'll see if they can use it here to make something happen in top or in mid lane. Nobody really focusing on that bottom side, considering the tier 1 turret's already been lost for FlyQuest down there. I don't expect Santorin to hike all the way across the map just to drop Shelly. This top lane tier 1 nearly killed off already. IgNar and Mash with that demolished proc should only need a couple more autos to kill it off, and there we go. FlyQuest getting their first turret of the game.
Yep, going to be able to almost even up the gold lead at this point. Just down 500. Ryoma, though, looking for PowerOfEvil.
PowerOfEvil trying to get himself away from that Super Soaker. Oh, ELP. Oh, nice shot, Ssumday.
Really well done there by Ssumday, cleaning up PowerOfEvil and gets the shutdown. And Ssumday is really, really strong. He has the Black Cleaver. He has the Serrated Dirk on top of that. That Shock Blast also taking about 30% of the health there off of Mash. So very, very threatening. Ryoma almost had enough damage for the solo kill, but did actually miss the Scout of the Week. And that's something where, if he actually just changed the order of his spells a little bit, if he used the Hextech GLP, this slowdown, prior to going for the Scout of the Week, it becomes so much harder to actually dodge that. Instead, he actually spent the stun and then used the slow just kind of for that additional damage. So I do think there was a possibility of Ryoma, with better kind of spell order, actually getting the solo kill. But Ssumday there to make up for that mistake and cleans up the kill.
It's actually the smarter play to use the spells in the wrong order, because now you get assist money, Isaac.
Oh, brilliant.
Assist money expands the kill by 50% value. Yeah, they're just maxing out their economic gains by allowing Ssumday to make the highlight play and get that downtown shock blast, as now 100 Thieves are looking to go for that third Drake, really put the pressure on FlyQuest. 45 seconds or so until that next one's going to be spawning, and you can see 100 Thieves. I like this. They're already getting into position into the river. They're not going to show up with 15 seconds to go and then try to force FlyQuest out. They want to set up nice and early and make sure that they can keep up this pressure. They've done a good job at maintaining so far in this game. Shockwave from PowerOfEvil's not going to find the target that it's looking for, and Ezreal, that's a really big cooldown to not have available for this Drake fight if FlyQuest are still thinking about fighting it. Shelly was summoned up in the mid lane, and okay, she did show up. I was worried this was going to be like in the old school days when the summon time was longer and it just gets interrupted, which is sad.
I've still actually never seen it fully get interrupted. And Poome flashing in, quick flash out there by PowerOfEvil. That was a really good reaction from him. But Ssumday coming over, and Santorin is already very low, so if Santorin takes even like one shock blast, they're probably just going to have to back it up. And I think with Shockwave down, with Santorin low on health, this should be 100 Thieves taking the dragon. They just need to play it slow. Avoid the hard engage. Continue looking for poke. Don't commit to a fight, because that is the only way FlyQuest really takes this. You land a little bit more poke on Santorin, and FlyQuest will likely just give you the dragon for free.
Yeah, IgNar is the man to watch if you're a 100 Thieves fan right now, because that's the only way this fight should go awry. Santorin still at only half HP. Ssumday grouped up with the rest of the 100 Thieves squad. Santorin may go in and go for a fight here, but the Shockwave is back off of cooldown, and FlyQuest decided it's time to fight. They will steal the Drake away as well, and tragedy falls like a meteor on 100 Thieves. Poome tries to get himself back. They will lose solo, but they will take a Drake and 3 as the price. FlyQuest win that fight.
3 for 1 plus the dragon. Huge win there for FlyQuest. They are in full control now. Great shockwave from PowerOfEvil. And as you say, I mean, that cooldown is just so short. Like, look at it right now. It's over halfway back up already. They do stop that dragon stacking. We're going to see it one more time. Santorin was already low. 100 Thieves just decided to kind of force it. I do think that they could have just slow played it a little bit more, waited for additional poke, but they felt like we have Kalista, we have the ability to just rush this down. Instead, the Shockwave catching both Contractz and Ryoma. Ryoma goes down immediately, and the stun was still actually available there from solo, which forces Ssumday to flash out. Cody's stun gets piled on top of, and Poome had already spent the flash over by mid lane, which we had to see PowerOfEvil react to very quickly, and he was able to do so, and so he's just going to get chased down too. PowerOfEvil has really been playing well after that early mistake, has been pretty monstrous in this game.
He has been instrumental in keeping FlyQuest where they are right here, and you can see the damage done in the last fight. It was MASH quietly just popping off, despite the fact that the Shockwave started it all. MASH made sure it ended well for FlyQuest, and I guarantee you, 100 Thieves had no idea that Shockwave was ready yet. They were playing around the fact that that ult wasn't there, because otherwise there's no way PowerOfEvil would have been able to get that Shockwave the way he did. But for FlyQuest, that's such a huge win. Rabadon's death cap, locked and loaded for PowerOfEvil, along with the fully evolved Seraph's Embrace. These Shockwaves are going to just completely eviscerate 100 Thieves' health bars. Look at this team. The tankiest person is a support Sett.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult, right? And he's not even going to be building any MR. Contractz has moved towards this kind of pseudo-supportive style of build. The Athene's is great for Nidalee. You're just landing the poke, you're healing up, with the bonus charges that you're actually landing from all the damage you deal. So can be pretty nice, but yeah, it gets difficult, right? Because Rakan engage is so hard to actually avoid, and PowerOfEvil always loves these death cap builds where he goes to that death cap second item almost every game on a lot of these champions, because it makes him so incredibly strong when he actually does hit it, and he doesn't feel like he needs to go defensive. He's not building the early Merc treads. He's not building the Banshee's Veil, even though he's against Nidalee and Syndra. And that's one of the things that I think sometimes kind of goes unnoticed with this guy, is that he is performing very consistently, but he's also not actually building defensively while doing it. He's able to survive off of his own skill and kind of just scale towards what is an even stronger teamfight build.
That's a Chad Orianna if I've ever seen one. I support this kind of gameplay. There's no reason to build defensively if all your opponents are dead. You can't take any damage. The only thing that's ever going to hurt you is a Baron. And guess what? You have an alligator to tank that for you. You're not concerned.
You're not wrong.
But FlyQuest is now sitting in a spot where the gold is less than 1,000 apart, where 100 Thieves might try to set some sort of a trap down here for Solo, but he seems pretty content to recognize that, hey, he's been the sacrificial lamb this game. It's time to just farm up, not risk anything. Especially when he walks up right there, he can see that the Krugs are still just chilling there. Like, there's not really any reason to mess with that. So FlyQuest will now continue trying to just keep this game in an even enough state, farm up. There's nothing to really fight for right now. Nobody's feeling confident enough in their current strength to want to force a Baron play. Cody's son getting himself away from IgNar, using the Blade of the Ruined King active. That one is 90 seconds. That's not reduced by cooldown reduction, so that will not be available at the start of this Drake fight if they start it up on spawn. And Ezreal, we're still just 60 seconds away from another Drake fight as Ryoma, he's not where he needs to be. Mash goes on a killing spree, and Ryoma will be alive in time for this Drake, but getting that pick on the 100 Thieves mid laner, 0 and 4 on this Syndra. Yes, he has assists, but the man is dying an awful lot.
Santorin dropping the emotes, and yeah, now IgNar looking again, potentially for Ssumday, but it was IgNar on the flank, right? That is one I will say that they maybe should have known about, because he actually tried to go on Cody's son, and Cody's son was over by that red buff, so you had to know that IgNar could have been there. Ssumday getting very aggressive. The Poome is on the flank.
Mash trying to get himself away, but Ssumday is able to bring down the hammer, and now PowerOfEvil is going to feel the power of Cody's son. Look at the damage flying out through these spears, as IgNar should likely die here. The solo kill coming out from Ssumday as well.
Ryoma's
doesn't
behind
have the
them.
flash to go over the wall and chase him. Ryoma coming in from behind. There's your Syndra flank, Isaac. There's your plays from 100 Thieves. A double kill for Ryoma. He heard me talking smack. He put those kills on the board. And now the Thieves will take both the Drake and the Baron. They're starting up both objectives at once.
That was huge, and FlyQuest there, moving up very, very aggressively, but Poome was able to actually find the flank, and somebody just kind of walked in very brazenly. It didn't feel like FlyQuest, reacted quickly to the damage that Ssumday was doing, because I don't think that they realized Poome was behind him. So I think they were just calling to actually finish off that tower, and instead, they just get absolutely wiped off the map. This should be an easy to secure Baron. They are now at soul point. And it went from feeling like FlyQuest is in full control to 100 Thieves are on the verge of victory here. So let's watch this one more time. This is after that initial pick. Poome has actually snuck around a lot of the vision. He gets spotted now on that ward, so they should know that he's actually coming. But look at Ssumday. He's just walking into the middle of the team, jumps in on Ezreal through everyone, and it just did not feel like they were prepared for that flank whatsoever. Did not respect the potential of 100 Thieves engaging because they had already killed off Ryoma. I think that gave them far too much confidence in their position there, not respecting how strong the Jayce had been. And as you said, I was making fun of Ryoma for the last TP flank there on Syndra, but this one obviously with 3 members chasing 2 and he comes in behind was going to work out a lot better. Well done by him.
Ssumday is only good at League of Legends on days that end in a Y. This man can just turn water into wine in these fights, making the damage happen, finding the angles to be successful here with the Jayce. And FlyQuest now find themselves very much on the back foot. 3,500 gold down. They've got to deal with a Baroned up 100 Thieves for the next 2 minutes. And then shortly thereafter, they will have to fight for the Drake that could be the Ocean Soul for 100 Thieves as well. Cody's son taking down the tier 2 there in the top side. FlyQuest may be looking for an opportunity here in mid lane, but they don't want to force things onto Poome. Full tank Sett, not the target that you've got to be engaging on. Solo trying to hold things down there in the top lane, wants to defend that tier 3 turret. Tier 1 still holding on here in the mid lane for FlyQuest, but 100 Thieves are doing their best to throw in all of these Syndra spheres, all of these spears, and just keep that poke train going.
Yeah, FlyQuest is just trying to delay this Baron as much as they can. They are going to have to give up this tower eventually, but they committed the shockwave on the previous wave, trying to just push back 100 Thieves, trying to protect as many of these objectives as they can, because they know that they're going to have to fight for Soul at Next Dragon, and they've got to make sure that they're not too far behind in gold when that actually happens. Smash has got to be a bit careful here, as Solo is getting really low, and they committed a lot of people towards that mid lane, but Renekton can't actually hold this Kalista by himself when Kalista is ahead and has that Baron buff.
Mash E-ing my words didn't work there for a second. Let me try that again. Mash E-ing aggressively.
Redo.
Over the wall. Yeah, just rewind that there for a second. E-ing aggressively over the wall, making sure he could try to just jump forward and keep these guys away, keep them scared a little bit. It's risky, but at least they've pushed them back. Solo is healed up. FlyQuest continuing to hold the line. The important thing here is that they don't lose any of those tier 3 turrets. They don't end up with vulnerable inhibitors that 100 Thieves can force a fight on in open ground. And it seems like they'll be successful at that. PowerOfEvil has one more minion wave to clear out. And you can see Ssumday wanting to use the last couple seconds of that Baron buff to get himself a faster recall. 100 Thieves going back to base. And look at the inventories. 2 control wards for Contractz, 2 control wards for Poome. Everybody coming out ready to prepare for this Drake because a victory here is Ocean Soul for 100 Thieves.
They are 5,000 gold ahead, so that is pretty nice. A lot of it is on Ssumday, so he has to have a successful fight. But Cody's getting pretty strong at this point, too. He just completed his Bloodthirster, so he has double lifesteal, Hurricane, and the Stopwatch. And that's kind of that point where you start to get pretty difficult to actually take down. There's not a lot of healing debuffs, over on this FlyQuest side that are going to be guaranteed. So there's always that potential for him to just be able to heal it back up. Yes, there is that Thornmail over on Santorin, and there's an Executioner on the Ezreal. But if he gets hit by that Shockwave combo, there's still potential for him to heal up off someone like the Rakan or like this Renekton.
100 Thieves backing away as FlyQuest move aggressively forward to clear out some of this vision. Spear will not connect onto any target. Control wards placed down by FlyQuest to clear out both the wards and the traps. PowerOfEvil's Banshee's Veil is going to block a spell. However, that means 45 seconds until that one's back up and ready to go. Ryoma still having his Banshee's Veil ready to go. Mash, he eats the accelerated Shock Blast before he's able to S and shift away. And now with Cody, Sun, and Poome controlling the bottom side river, 100 Thieves are feeling in control right now. That mistake from FlyQuest in the mid lane that gave away the Drake, that gave away the Baron, has just flipped this game upside down from where it was. And Cody, Sun, nearly finding the kill onto IgNar. With their big initiation mechanism down to 300 HP, FlyQuest are seriously feeling the hurt right now. They have got to find some sort of a crazy angle to take this fight from, because if IgNar gets hit by anything, he is just going to collapse. Cody, Sun starting up the Drake. Remember, this is Kalista. He doesn't need the jungler nearby to smite secure it. He's got the Rend. Santorin's hanging out, wants to be able to contest this one, wants to be able to steal it away. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, initiation coming in from FlyQuest. Ocean Drake's going to reset, and FlyQuest are able to find themselves one kill, but now they're going to lose PowerOfEvil. They're going to throw Poome right back into the fight. It's a double kill over to Cody. It's Solo barely getting himself away from downtown. 3 points for Ssumday, and 100 Thieves are looking to secure the soul. Cody Sun's got it done, and ladies and gentlemen, it is all looking good for the boys in red.
PowerOfEvil just got caught there. As they engaged forward, it didn't look like he was actually able to connect with the rest of his team to follow up on that shockwave, so they didn't have quite enough damage to take down the rest of that 100 Thieves squad. And as they slipped away, so much healing from lifesteal from Cody Sun, so much healing even out of this Nidalee, they now have that Ocean Soul, and 100 Thieves are in such a good spot. But a lot of credit really deserved by Cody Sun for actually sussing out where IgNar was going to be flanking from. That's something that I was talking about earlier in the game, how good he is at finding these different angles, these locations that you don't necessarily expect the Rakan to be. And he's been doing that all season long. And this time, Cody Sun went hunting because they saw everyone else on FlyQuest. So you can face check the Rakan if it's just the Rakan. And he actually went and found him in the tri-brush, chunked him out. And as a result, that was a lot more difficult of a fight for FlyQuest.
100 Thieves now looking for their second Baron of the game. With a 5,000 gold lead and an Ocean Soul edge, they have to know how far ahead they are. Santorin trying to step up here, throw some axes into the brush to clear and move forward. PowerOfEvil is about to get killed in 3 auto attacks from Ssumday, but the CC shows up. PowerOfEvil still kept alive for a moment, but Cody Sun's going on a rampage. Ssumday's at 25%, but he is still trucking. Using the hammer to knock Solo away, trying to get himself out, but he will be shut down. Solo stands alone in the middle of 4, and Cody Sun has a triple kill. 100 Thieves now making the call. Baron is not the focus. It's mid lane they're looking for. They could just be going for the end right here on this push.
Yeah, there's a long time on these respawns, and not a lot of damage here between Santorin
Oh, IgNar, he goes into the Zhonya's trying to keep himself alive. He wants to dash away, but Ryoma's got his number. Santorin, the last man standing. It's a double kill for Ryoma. He was 0-4, and now he's 4-5. He went 4-1 since that big turnaround there in the mid lane. And with everybody's screen on FlyQuest's side seeing black and white, it is nothing but dubs here for 100 Thieves, making the plays happen. They will find their third win of the split at the end of the first round robin. And